Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mysterious JG, your friend in the digital age, and welcome to a new Let's Play from my channel. So I actually just got done recording 30 minutes of this and realized that the settings were just completely awful. Like I had to take my mic gain way down because I sounded like crap, and I didn't notice it being that bad. Yakuza, I hope it's not. This is not how to start this Let's Play, though. I should be talking about this game, which is Legend of Mana. Legend of Mana is a game in the Mana series, as you might have gathered from the name. Um, Somebody will tell me if I'm wrong, and I probably am, but Seiken Densetsu was a Game Boy game, which I think in the States was called Final Fantasy Legend. And might have been something else. Final Fantasy Legend might have been different. But definitely the first game was a Game Boy game. The first game to use mana as part of the name in the States from the Mana series was Secret of Mana, which is actually Seiken Densetsu 2 in Japan. But in my mind, as an American, much as I still have a place in my heart for Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge, even though it doesn't count, and much as I still call Final Fantasy 2 Final Fantasy 2 and not Final Fantasy 4 or 5 or whatever the hell, um, to me, Secret of Mana is the first Mana game, and Seiken Densetsu 3, which was brought back on the Switch and the PS4 as Trials of Mana, a game I've played recently on my channel, um, is actually Seiken Densetsu 3 and was a Super Famicom game. This game, I want to say it was PS1. Maybe I'm crazy and it was PS2, but I think it was PS1. And I think it was probably Seiken Densetsu 4, although it might have gotten like a different name other than just being 4. It might have been like Legend of Densetsu, and I don't know what Seiken Densetsu actually translates to. Um, but yeah, this game is of the Mana games I've played. I'm excited to Let's Play this because I think it's going to be entertaining in a me getting angry and making fun of the game kind of way. Because of the Mana games I've played, this was by far my least favorite of the Mana games. I played this on the PS1. I spent like a whole weekend just like playing this game, and by the time I was done, I kind of hated it. um, it's a beautiful game visually. It's a beautiful game as far as the music goes. The story, there kind of isn't one. So with that preamble, I'm hoping that you will join me at least for a couple of episodes to see if this is to your taste or not, because this is one of the most extreme, like, style over the game itself actually doing anything to engage you games I've ever played. It's incredibly, I don't know, it's weird. It's like some kind of combination of like a video game and like Winnie the Pooh, where the characters are all cute and they're all trying to teach you moral lessons and stuff. And there's like nothing that would make somebody who played through like the story with like intensity and like villains that were nasty and doing terrible things and heroes who had to rise up and fight them. This game kind of doesn't have much of that, but I think it'll be interesting to see anyway. So let's check out Legend of Mana. And I think just from its intro, you'll get a taste for what this game is about. Even though the intro is obviously something that was upgraded and modernized for modern systems, it'll give you a taste of what this game's tone is. And no, the cute little highly pixelated old school rabbi is not what I meant by the intro. Find me and walk beside me. That's right, it's Dustin Rhodes as Seven. Tony, Tony, no, WCW. We have glowing fantasy person floating around. May or may not be a... That's supposed to be a boy, because this is the girl. You can tell by the panty shot. It's not, it's like the leotard, but still. Neither of them have noses. Both of them have weird plant creatures staring at them. And now you get a real... This is what this game is really about. Fucking weird-looking fantasy critters that are supposed to be charming. And maybe they are charming. It really depends on your point of view. Happy anime girl who is embarrassed and smiling. Here is the most generic fantasy thing ever. A tree with a face. These guys kind of look ominous. There's Falcor ripoff number 374. Here's your stuff that probably makes you hot if you're a furry. And here's more of a generic fantasy hero. Here's another, like, it's just like, this game is just like somebody in Japan saw the never-ending story and decided we can make a video game that, well, that features all those visual things anyway, even if it doesn't have, like, a narrative. And then you saw Little Cactus. I believe this game is Little Cactus's actual debut, and that the little cactus that was thrown into Trials of Mana as a, throwback to this game was not actually part of Seiken Densetsu 3, if I remember correctly. Now we've got floating artifacts. Artifacts will be important to this game's, I hesitate to say story, but yeah, these weird floating artifacts is kind of what the story is. And the girl has a butt. Remember that, folks. The girl has a butt. It's important that we all know that. Let us close our eyes as the world is blasted with nuclear radiation. And the mana tree, because it's not a mana game without the mana tree. And the mana tree will get mentioned, but it's one of those games. The end game will involve the mana tree, because there is one main end mission for this game that always involves the mana tree. But in every other respect, this game is like a collection of weird side quests. Alright, so we can choose between Japanese, English, Francais, Deutsch, Espanol, Korean, I think? And I think this is simplified and not simplified Chinese. So Japanese is so fucking confusing because there's like 3 different written languages, one of which is using Chinese characters, and I don't know. But we're going to be playing in English. We cannot change the language after the game begins, so get the shit right on the first try. Now we see our 2 possible heroes. As far as I guess they have names in the manual, because I remember many years ago when I was working a temp job and just killing time on the GameFAQ forums all day, somebody complaining, Legends of Mana doesn't have a story, and somebody else saying, of course it has a story. And they said, the girl is trying to restore her town, and the boy just wants to have an adventure. If that's true, they got it out of, like, a manga that accompanies the game in Japan, or maybe like a sentence or 2 in the manual, because there's no fucking difference between these 2 characters. You can, like, if this one wasn't clearly supposed to be the girl, I wouldn't even be able to tell that this one is the boy. And as you can see here, yeah, in her main portrait back there, you can see she's a girl. Even showing off a little thigh, and we saw in the opening movie, you can swing the camera around to get a nice butt shot, Princess Angela style, but the actual character sprite isn't going to give you any of that. So there's really not, it doesn't matter which one you pick. She wants to restore the world, and he wants to have an adventure, I guess, per something I read on GameFAQs like 20 years ago. But we're just going to pick the boy, because neither of them has a default name or a story. We're going to pick the sword as our Woppet. There's a 100% completion guide to this game online that I'm going to be following very faithfully, because it's super easy, without even knowing you've done it, to do something that will prevent you from seeing one of the side stories. Some of the side stories can end different ways depending on a choice you make, which means you really can't see every possible ending for every side story in one playthrough, but you can, only if you're paying close attention and doing it right, you can see every side story. And what does that have to do with selecting the sword? It's the first mention I'm making of this guide I'm following. The guide, somebody is like, hats off if they enjoyed the game, they went out and actually put together a FAQ to help others, but somebody was like obsessively into this game and basically figured out that as you level up, the weapon you're equipped with affects your stats. That's not really that shocking, but they basically figured out, yeah, to have like perfect stats, you need to play most of the game with the sword equipped. So we're going to do that. And our starting name is You. We're going to get rid of that. We can be Arthur, Joster, Valchrist, Koval, Talamon, Julius, Koval, Hawkeye. Oh man, we don't want to be Hawkeye. Or we can do our own name, which is what we're actually going to do, and we're going to be Avatar. This game, as you can see, it remembers I was typing Avatar before. From the video I mentioned that has been lost to time because the sound was terrible, and also from playing this game a little off-screen. We'll get into that later. We can also be Amenities, Akari, or Ando. I think those are coming from Hands of Three Kingdoms, actually. Characters, created characters in Nobunaga's Ambition, or something called Akari Ando. Okay. Now we need to place our world on the world map. So this is a little weird. Even though it's saying this is the world map, in fact, it's sort of not. Whatever area we select, that will be where the entire game takes place. It just kind of looks like we have this area, and we'll be laying out our own world, as we'll see in the second intro movie, which we'll play after I make these decisions. The world is kind of like empty. It was wiped out in a war or something, and we're going to be rebuilding the world using the power of our imagination, guys. You know, so imagination can build the world, quite literally. But we can pick various sections of this map in which to build the world. And according to the FAQ, if you pick this exact location here, not one hex up, not one hex down, this exact location, apparently the amount of water tiles and the amount of land tiles are such that you can create all of the maps you need to create to get all the side stories. So again, no way I would know this. I'm just and like, if you picked wrong, you can't really pick wrong. You can just pick something that's not going to give you access to every side quest. So I'm very much trying to follow the guide just to get everything. Now, as I mentioned, the world is this kind of weird open area that we can build on using our imagination. So our starting point is to place the mailbox on the map. We're going to select location with L and press X to place an artifact, and let's place them on glowing areas. And again, the online guide told me exactly how to do this. If I get this wrong, it doesn't matter, because I'll be loading in this, probably around the start of video 2, I'll be loading anyway. But we can place the mailbox here. It is a magical artifact, and placing it on the world map will create an area. This is like super charming, but still in many ways frustrating and annoying fantasy game. And now that we've created our first zone, we can have a second intro movie. And even though I'm going to be all grouchy and making fun of this game, I can't pretend that like these super spirited, happy anime intros flying around in the clouds, I'm not completely immune to the charm of these things. Like the super upbeat intro themes from the Japanese versions of like Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon. Yeah, they're pretty catchy. The reminds me a little bit of Tales of Vesperia intros. Intro, rather, because I just had that one. So we got little plant guys who are now being irradiated. I don't know if this is the world ending. Actually, it is kind of the world ending I think we're about to see. Because I just watched this a couple minutes ago and then had to... and realized that my microphone settings were terrible and it sounded like I was recording it on a tin can. But yes, something terrible is happening in the world. This is, I guess this is before our story starts. Or this is what we're trying to prevent. The game doesn't ever tell you what the hell's going on. So the music gets all spirited and upbeat, but we're seeing, this is always a bad sign, rocks floating upward with glowing red light. Anime is obsessed with worlds ending in this manner. And now, scary looking items floating around in the sky. But that's not that scary. That's sort of some eyeball and a book. They're kind of scary. But yeah, seeing the world getting just destroyed by evil, scary power. But now the mailbox is floating around. The music's gotten really upbeat. You can tell they're singing about, like, imagination and dreams and hope and love and shit. But the mailbox is floating off into a void of disco trippiness. Psychedelic weirdo land. But this mailbox, as we know, is what created the first building block of the game world. See? There's actually the land we created with our imagination, even though the game told us exactly what to do and this is the only outcome it could have. But still, it's the power of the protagonist's imagination. Not our imagination, it's the protagonist character's imagination. Somehow work together with a mailbox artifact to create this place, which we will be exploring for the rest of this video. Now, Rabbite, was it swimming with its eyes closed? I don't know what's going on there. Now we got the mana tree floating, so that's doesn't seem to be rooted. That's a bit strange. It also appears to be made up of several other trees. 9 centuries ago, the mana tree burned to ashes. The power of mana lived on inside mana stones, enchanted instruments, and artifacts. Sages fought amongst themselves to gain control of these last remnants of mana. The most vicious and terrible of these sages was named Sarda, who killed many before fleeing and settling on a cave on the other side of the Titan's Cave. Then, after hundreds of years of war, as the power of mana began to wane, those who sought it grew scarce, and peace returned to the world. Okay, so it's a good thing mana's gone then, because all these people trying to get the power of mana for themselves is creating conflict which destroyed the world. So clearly it's good the mana is gone. Henceforth, mankind grew afraid to desire, their hearts filled with empty emotions, and grew estranged from my hands. Wait, the narrator... Okay, the narrator is apparently some kind of deity. They turned their gaze away from my infinite power and troubled themselves with petty disputes. Okay, so the narrator is apparently the mana tree? Then kind of said, yeah, the world was destroyed by people competing for my power. But now that no one's competing for my power anymore, that's terrible. It's a terrible thing. People's empty emotions. They're afraid to desire. So, okay, everyone's a bunch of plebes. Nobody's out there trying to take over the world. They're all just kind of working their farms and living their lives. That's terrible. And they're petty disputes, like, you know, falling in love with people, raising families, not attempting to gain infinite power in world conquest. These things are petty. Remember me. Need me. I can provide you with everything. I am love. Find me and walk beside me. That's right, the mana tree is now... Alan Rickman. It's not Nobunaga, it's Alan Rickman. For a minute I wanted to say Severus Snape, but it's like, no, the actor is named Alan Rickman. Yep. Remember me, need me, I can provide you with everything. I am love, find me and walk beside me. Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. And so forth. Alan Rickman, ladies and gentlemen. By Bechthal's hammer, or whatever that hammer was, I shall avenge thee. Now we are home. Home is where the heart is, or in our case, a little cactus. When you want to save your progress or configure the settings, press... I never know what the fuck to call that button. This is disabled in certain situations, like during battles or story scenes. See, this is the kind of like super cute, child-friendly game. You know, I'm thinking about my little niece and my nephew, Vulture Bobo, and then I'm going to do a Let's Play. It's like, even if for some reason I was like, I want to do Let's Plays tailored to my niece and my nephew, which I don't, because they don't watch Let's Plays. So it's like, I don't know what the fuck to call this button. Now let's get on with our delightful G-rated fantasy adventure. So this is a room full of things that look like you should be able to interact with them, but you can't. There's a sword here. Can't do anything with that. Can't do anything with this treasure chest. Can't do anything with this bowl. Can't do anything with this leaf. Aha, you can! It's me trying to recreate a spontaneous moment from the video that was lost, where I was like, this leaf looks like something you can interact with, but you can't. And then I was like, oh, never mind, you can. And a little cactus. A little cactus was not actually in Seiken Densetsu 3. They added him to the Trials of Mana version as a callback to a game that actually came later in the series. But, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the cactus is not actually in the original Super Famicom version. Which was Let's Played on my channel, along with Bobo, with a party of Hawk, Kevin, and Pretty Princess, essentially. So you can't really... So, Little Cactus doesn't talk to you. But when you complete a side quest and you talk to him, he will then go, after you leave the screen, write it down in his diary, and you can read it later. And it's their way of like cataloging the side quests you've done, I guess. It's kind of cute. It also makes for very easy to not get 100% completion, because if you do a story and get it to completion, it makes it obvious. It gives you the like splash screen and says, you know, story end. And all these stories are staggered. Like some of them have sequels. You have to do this story before you unlock that story, etc., etc. But I believe it's possible. Like if you do two of those stories and you don't come back and talk to the cactus after you complete one, he might only record the last of the two stories you did and never record the prior story. And I think having stories recorded in the diary affects whether you can unlock follow-up stories. So this is a game where it's super easy to accidentally set it up so that you can't do side quests that you thought you were going to be able to do. Which is why I'm going to be following an online guide pretty closely to make sure I don't mess anything up. Because I do not have the kind of game knowledge to just... I could go in and explore this and have fun, but we would certainly be missing shit, and I wouldn't even know when I was making decisions that were going to permanently lock us out of content. That is not a great design choice. This is a game... There are people who are like really in love with this game. It's a niche game. It's not widely remembered, but it's very fondly remembered by a super hardcore elite group of people. I think one of the things that makes it hard to get into is the fact that it's just ruthless about like not telling you when you've just locked yourself out of content. Anyway, we don't know any characters yet. The only land we know about is home. Home sweet home. Your home is comfortably located near a great tree, surrounded by nature. Many visitors come and go, except we haven't met any yet. It is a tree house in a sense, because it is a house that is growing in a tree. It is not a tree house in the classic, like, no girls allowed in our tree fort tree house kind of way. The only artifact we have is the mailbox. A few letters a month can mean a lot to a lonely, far-off home. Kind of a bittersweet comment, but I suppose it's true. And there's nothing to see yet under monsters. Technique actually has some stuff, because we start with these movement techniques, and we start with one sword technique, which you use when you save up, like a K-meter, basically. Your K-gauge from Samurai Showdown is full to red. You get to use a special technique. So there's many, many techniques, because each weapon type has a bunch. But the movement techniques, I've learned almost all of them, just from goofing around off-screen. Because if you have a FAQ, and it's like, to unlock... parry, use counter 10 times and backstep 10 times. It's not at all difficult to actually unlock all those techniques, which I've pretty much done. The weapon techniques, they have prerequisites. You need to know certain movement techniques before you can do them, but I'm still not clear on how to unlock them all. So I've got a lot of the sword techniques learned. Those are basically finishing blows. You don't need to know all of them, because a lot of them just kind of do similar things but look different. But I got a bunch of them unlocked too. So here we go. This is our, and it's a mana game, so we have the ring system going. So this is our little house. It's super charming, as you can see. Just ridiculously charming. I could see myself living, like, put a little bit of thought into what comes next in the last couple of months for reasons that should be apparent. And one of the things, like, maybe you get to jump from, like, kind of dream to dream. And, like, this, I could see myself, like, kicking back and enjoying, like, rustic fantasy setting, fireplace type of world. And this is that. Before you get too excited about it, I'd like to point out that, although it's bigger than the apartment I live in, it doesn't appear to have a living room at all. There is a dining room. I'm guessing in here is a tiny kitchen. There's a water closet. A study, a bedroom. It's not really a living room at all. Now, if you wanted to live in this in the 21st century, I suppose you could put a big screen up on this wall. And, like, this might be kind of your comfy chair. Anyway. You get 100 lucre. Lex lucre. The total package. I'd like to join Team Package, but at this point we haven't met any other characters except that cactus. So, I mean, suppose together we could collectively form Team Package. I don't know. Now you meet one of these guys.
I'm a Sproutling. The world can be shaped by your imagination. Did you know that?
I'm gonna say I did, because off-screen I said no I didn't, and I've now gone through that dialogue twice, and I'm curious if it makes a difference. I knew that.
Here you go.
Oh crap, I shouldn't have. We did miss dialogue that way. Yeah, we actually missed dialogue by saying that. He explains a little bit.
That's the town of Domina.
People with pure hearts can go to a whole new world. So I apologize. We actually missed a little bit of dialogue. He talks about... I don't remember exactly what he talked about, but there's like 2 or 3 text screens worth of him explaining that, like, imagination is the wish the heart makes, and, you know, love is the blah blah Disney-esque bullshit. But basically he explains that he said something about how these guys are sproutlings are different from humans. I don't know. But yeah, there's something about how, like, the imagination can build a new world, and I feel bad that we missed that tiny bit of dialogue, but we did. I don't know of a way. I can't reset it. Like, we would be restarting the entire game. I guess I should have saved before we did anything, just so we could go through hearts and go to a whole new world. A whole new world, don't you close your eyes. So we've got various places that we can't do anything with yet. Like, there's a monster barn. Eventually we'll get kind of like familiars / pets. Which serve as player too. Like, they will be controlled by the AI. You only have one at a time. They could be controlled by the AI, but they also provide, that's where a second player can come in and play the game. And seeing as the protagonist has neither a default name nor a story, playing as their monster sidekick doesn't really feel significantly less rewarding than playing as the main character. Other than the fact that the monster sidekick is only doing stuff during combat and doesn't wander around the towns. This is the entrance hall to what? I don't know. I'm sure it unlocks later. What I might do is just make a little save slot. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get on with things. Backyard Orchard, I'm going to get a little farther than I did in the video that just got abandoned. Backyard Orchard, I just wanted to point out, often in this game it looks like you can go places, but you actually can't. Like, the art is more interested in being pretty than in necessarily clearly showing where you can and can't go. Like here, very much looks like you can go south or towards camera, whatever you want to call it. No, you can't. So it's not always that obvious where you're supposed to go based on looking at the map, because sometimes, I mean, you know, like here, it's pretty apparent you can go this way, but sometimes it just kind of looks pretty, and there's like corners that look like you should be able to explore them and you can't. Meanwhile, a nut. Open the artifact selector. Open the artifact selector with square and choose an artifact. Home. Home is actually not supposed to be this. Color blocks. Oh, we can learn stuff here. Let's see what land placement says. Artifacts can only be placed next to existing lands, but if your adventure in a certain lands are insufficient, you might not be able to place an artifact next to that land. Some artifacts can only be placed on or near a body of water. Okay. Anyway, color blocks. Oh, I remember. You know what? Okay, but we're going to go back and see that dialogue, I've decided. But he does say something about how this city only exists because I imagine it does. We plant weirdos know that the world is an illusion. I mean, he's about to start launching into, you do not have free will, but it cuts out before they get it. The world is an illusion. You are merely a player. Hey, some chunky dude is like let's playing, and he is controlling your destiny. So we're gonna go to Domina. No, we're not gonna go to Domina. I figured out how I'm gonna do this. I have figured out how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go save. So even though we just created Domina, we're not gonna go there. We're gonna save. Off screen, I'm gonna get to that one little silly piece of dialogue. We'll get it, then we'll load. I was thinking I would get far enough that we could get to my... Because I did play a little bit off screen. I'll talk about that next time. Now I'm losing track of what did I say in this video already and what did I say in the video that's been abandoned. But I did play a little. We're going to save. We need to find a different slot for this, obviously. Yeah, I don't want to save on that slot. So we'll make a new slot. Save successful. Teleport successful. When we come back next time, what the hell difference does it make? I just realized this makes no difference, because if I go off screen to the point where that dialogue comes up, we can just pick up from exactly there. So none of this matters in the slightest. Alright, not thinking these things through. When we come back next time, we will be talking to that spriteling, and I will say, I didn't know that, because sometimes you can't tell if one answer or another is going to give you more dialogue, and in this case, we definitely miss a little bit of dialogue. I can't obsessively do this for the entire game, because not every dialogue choice is discussed in the walkthrough, only the ones that affect whether or not you can get the side quest. So like if you say no to somebody who requests you to go save the day, I can't tell whether you're permanently shut out, but the fact tells you say yes, so we'll be saying yes in those cases. So we're going to go back and see this dialogue. We're not probably always going to be able to see both sides of any discussion, but at least we'll start out that way. This has been a bit of a weird video. Like I said, I just went through recording this video and had to scrap it because of the sound. So there are things that I said last time, and did I say them this time, or did I say them last time? I don't know. But I know I pointed out in this game, I'm getting chatty now as we close out. This is my least favorite mana game by far, but I think it could be a really fun Let's Play. I'm hoping it is. And one of the reasons I'm thinking it could be a really funny Let's Play is going to become apparent pretty early in the next video when we meet our first kind of sidekick character we're going to hang out with and get into their quest. I think it'll be pretty apparent why this is a game I think we could enjoy together, you and I, gentle viewer. So give me one more video to try to sell you on this thing, and when we come back next time, I'm going to try to sell you on this game by just showing you how freaking goofy it can be.